Welcome into our 2 o'clock streaming hour. I'm Ariel Onstadt, and it is great to have you streaming along here with us on our Tuesday afternoon. Great to see you. We do want to start our streaming hour off with some breaking news. We know a very active police situation is underway in Sandy Springs. Our Kevin Stewart was actually on another story and rushed out as soon as we learned a little bit about this. So I want to go out live and see if we can take a look at some live pictures. Kevin, we are learning that a bullet grazed an officer. What more can you tell us right now?
Yeah, it is a Sandy Springs officer. Unfortunately, I can tell you that he is going to be okay. I want to set the scene here. This is Pride Place that I'm standing at right now. We're expecting the police to give us a update not too long from now. Stephen's giving you a look down Pride Place. The activity where this is all going on is if you go straight down here and make a left, there's a neighborhood back there and a street called Carroll Manor. That's where we understand an officer responded to a call of shots fired sometime after 11. Once he went inside that home, he was let in, he was shot and grazed in the thumb. As again, I mentioned, he is going to be okay. We understand he was taken to a local hospital. And what we have right now is a situation where police from multiple agencies are trying to get that man out. You can see right here, you've got Sandy Springs police out here conversing here. We understand they're going to give us an update. Multiple agencies are out here. Roswell Police is out here. To give you another sense of where we are, Sandy Springs Charter Middle School is on the other side of the street here, and you can see right there, and 400 is on the other side. Police have blocked off this entire area to keep people from going in and out. There have been several people who were evacuated from their homes. Several people were told to stay inside, but we talked to a couple of people who left outside, and they want to give a sense of what was all going on. They said it was all speculation, but one other person did talk to my colleague, Billy Heath, and said that the man who lives inside that home, it is his home, and he's been going through some difficult challenges. So we didn't want to explain everything that we know about there because we have to confirm, and I'm sure police will be able to clarify that for us when we do get that information. But I can tell you that the man who is inside that home, it is his home, and apparently according to at least one neighbor, he's been going through some challenges. Ariel?
Thank you so much for that update. Just listening to everything that you've been able to tell me so far in this situation, it sounds like, and of course we're working to get more information confirmed.
Hey, Ariel.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt you? We're about to get this update right now. Let's listen in right now.
Yes, please. Let's listen.
Is everybody ready?
No, sorry. Hey, baby girl.
Can you guys come back this way?
Thank you so much.
We want everybody to be able to see. Everybody
Okay.
can see.
Let's wait for Ronnie. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're like no problem.
Oh, how do I do this?
Here, I got you.
If I need to do this again for anybody, just let me know. We're here.
That better?
Okay. Are we all ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good to go? Okay. So as of right now, the situation has been resolved. The subject is in custody. He is being transported to an area hospital to be further treated and evaluated. We have asked the assistance of GBI to take over the investigation. I know the question was asked earlier whether we return fire. I was able to confirm that we did return fire. And I know you guys were asking about our officer. I'm happy to say that our officer is doing okay. He was grazed in the thumb, and he's doing fine. He is also being treated at an area hospital.
Was
Was
there
the-
injuries
was
from
the guy
the
hit?
shooting?
One at a time.
Were the injuries from the shooting of the individual?
We're still trying to figure that out right now. It's so much moving pieces going on right now, and right now with the GBI going to be able to take over this investigation, they'll be able to answer that.
We've been given some information from a neighbor that said that the gentleman has been going through some challenges, marital issues. Was this a mental health issue or frustration or anything like that, why he was firing a weapon? Because you said he wasn't firing at anyone because no one else was in the home, to your knowledge, correct?
Yep, correct. So we don't know the information that you received from that neighbor. We don't know. That's something that we're steady gathering right now. But at this time, I can't say whether it was mental health or not.
Did he surrender himself?
Oh, sorry.
Did he surrender himself, or did you guys make entry into the home?
Yes, sir. He surrendered himself.
Can you say what condition he's in?
I do not know at this time. But that's something that we can look into.
So you don't know if he was shot or if this is just a mental episode and they decided to take him just in case?
We're still trying to figure that out right now at this time. But what I do know is he is in custody, and the GBI is going to be taking over this.
What charges is he facing?
We do not know that at this time. Again, we're still working to figure out what it is.
Can you detail for me how the officer was injured?
He was shot in the thumb. He was grazed in the thumb.
By this suspect?
We don't know.
Don't know.
Not at this time.
I'm sorry, when they returned fire, was that during the initial call or when he came out of the house?
During the initial call, when officers arrived at 11:15.
Did you guys use any sort of like non-lethal, like gas or anything to get him out or negotiations?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
So
Yeah,
no
do you know the
negotiations
circumstances
either?
under? Oh, I'm sorry.
No negotiations either? He just surrendered himself?
Negotiations. I'm sure there was some negotiations going on.
How was he? I was going to ask about the circumstances under which he came out of the house and what was that like?
Oh, we're using negotiation tactics at this time. I was down here with you guys, so I can figure out what exactly what type of negotiations were they using, for this individual.
Mm-hmm.
I can figure that out for you and give that information at a later time.
But he just walked out on his own, or did somebody go in and get him?
He surrendered himself.
There was no need to contact family members to try to coerce him, coax him out. It was just strictly law enforcement negotiator trying to get him out.
Yeah, I don't know that information at this time. That could possibly be, but I don't know. Again, I was here with you guys.
So what can you tell us about the suspect?
Was he shot at the house, whether by himself or one of the officers?
Who are you? I'm sorry.
The suspect.
Okay, that's what we are still trying to figure out right now. He is being transported to an area hospital to be further evaluated.
So it could be mental evaluation or physical evaluation?
Yes sir. It could be either or. We're still trying to confirm that right now. But when we get that information, we will share that.
Has he ever had run-ins with police before?
Not that we know of.
This is the first time.
This is not that we know of. We're still trying to figure out all this information. Again, this is an ongoing investigation. It's still very fresh, so we're still working to gather all the information.
Can you release his name or anything like that?
No, ma'am, not at this time. Again, GBI will be taking over this investigation, so once they take over, questions will have to be directed.
No doubt there are people who live here who don't have access to their home. How long before people will be able to get back home?
Oof. That's a great question. We'll probably be out here close to 12 hours. So
12 more additional hours?
12 total hours. Let's say 12 total hours. So it just depends. I don't want to put a number on that or a time on that.
Because we're looking at, 3 hours now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So in the meantime, as you investigate, you're still going to leave this lineup and no neighbor can go down there even though the danger has been removed?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Right now, it's still, like I said, it's still an active investigation. We're going to work diligently to clear the scene, but things like this take time.
Do you know whether or not he was in the house alone?
We do not know if he was in the house alone at this time, but we're working to gather all that information for you.
Wait, so we're saying that he may not have been alone now?
There's nobody. I can tell you that the house is clear. The home is clear. There's nobody else in the home.
Okay.
And he was the only one who walked
right?
out.
He's the only one that walked.
Okay, and then we can also say, too, that I just want to make sure that our facts are correct.
Yes, sir.
The officer was shot, grazed, I should say,
Yes,
in
sir.
the thumb, inside the home.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And in the initial call, was he outside firing the weapon or was he inside his house?
The call came from somebody hearing a gunshot from inside of the house. Come from inside
Inside of the house.
Yes,
Okay, yeah. So I'm sort of getting caught up. So
Yes, ma'am.
can you
No
just
worries.
sort of rewind that for me and tell me how this began?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So at about approximately 11:15 a.m., officers responded to a house on Caramel Drive for a discharging firearms. When they arrived on scene, they went to go make contact with the subject inside of the residence, and they were met with gunfire. Our officers did fire back. Fire back. One of our officers was struck in the thumb, and then this turned into a barricaded subject, and led us to where we are now.
All right.
All right, Ariel, there you have it. That was a good recap right there from the officer. You can see the AMR vehicle, ambulance leaving, and Sandy Springs Police. I'd say, I don't know for certain, but I think that's fair to say there is someone who is involved in this being taken to a hospital potentially. I can ask for that. Officer, that AMR ambulance vehicle, is the suspect in there? Because I see him being escorted.
I am unaware, sir. I was here again. I was here with you. Sorry about that.
But that's an educated guess, I would imagine. that is possible?
I'll leave that to your guests. Yes, sir.
Right. And I won't speculate,
Yes,
but that's
sir.
what we think may happen. All right, so that's what we have right now. That's a recap of where we stand right now. This all began around 11 o'clock. Call shots fired. Officer goes in. He is shot in the thumb, taken to the hospital. He's going to be okay. This all wrapped up within the last, I'd say, 25 minutes before we came out to you for the live report. We were told that something may happen. We may have some changes here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And so that's where we stand right now as the police try to put this all together. Ariel?
Kevin, so helpful. I'm so glad you were able to get that news conference for us and listen to what the officer had to say. When you were first telling me everything that unfolded, it sounded really worrisome, like this could have been an ambush, being that the officer arrived and was grazed in the thumb when he arrived inside that home. But as we're learning, this may be a different kind of a situation based on what you heard from the neighbor, what officers are saying. So we'll definitely wait to learn more details. Before I let you go, final question to you. Biggest questions that stand out in your mind as you continue to cover this story?
What was going on inside that house? Obviously, you never know what's going on in someone's home. What led him to fire a weapon? And you heard the officer say, he doesn't know at this time. This is something they still have to figure out. A lot of folks go through a lot of challenging situations, but we can. That's something that we need to figure out.
Yeah.
Ariel.
Okay, Kevin, I know I said that was the last question, but I just thought of something else. Where are you standing, the area, just for residents and people who may be trying to get home?
Yeah.
I know that they said that street, that area is going to be blocked off for multiple hours as they investigate and the GBI is involved. So just tell me a little bit about where you're at.
Yeah, to set the scene here, again, as we did at the top, Stephen, let's walk folks through here. Right here, that's Sandy Springs Charter Middle School. That's where we've been told to stage. This street that you see right here, Stephen, if you kind of walk through here, this is Pride Place, right through here. The home where this all happened is if you go straight down Pride Place, and you hang a little left, and then you kind of go straight. That's Carroll Manor Drive. And that's where this all happened. So that kind of gives you an idea. I do not know the name of the subdivision, but as you heard the officer say, while they're opening up this area here, folks are not going to be able to get back into their homes right away. They're going to be out here a total of 12 hours or so. This, right now, we're looking at about hour 3 and change right now. They still have to process the scene. And
oh, no, go ahead. I thought you were wrapping up. Keep going.
No. Yeah, I'm wrapping. If you have another question, I'll be glad to answer.
No, all good. You were just saying that area, it's going to be blocked off, you estimate, for multiple hours, just like the officer said. So if people are coming home, picking up kids from school, they probably are going to have to find another way around.
Exactly. That's because while they put the tape down so the vehicle could get by. You saw the AMR ambulance go through with an escort, but they've got the tape up, and he said that this area is going to be cordoned off for approximately 12 hours. So we're looking at 9 more hours.
Kevin, thank you so much. This has been so thorough and very helpful. I appreciate all of your hard work, and of course we'll be checking in with you again as our live stream continues at 3 o'clock. So thanks so much, Kevin Stewart. Guys, I want to continue to keep you updated on news we're following here in our newsroom, and one of the biggest stories involves the Atlanta airport not playing a video from the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, about the government shutdown. Our Tyler Fingert has actually been following up on this story. You're taking a live look at the airport now as a plane taxis on the runway. So I want to see if we can bring in Tyler in just a little bit to get a check on what to expect. So we know that many big major U.S. airports have decided not to air this video. Tyler, what have you been figuring out from airport officials as you've been covering this story today? So Tyler, it seems we are having trouble hearing you. I'm going to see if we can troubleshoot this for just a little bit. Maybe just check, is your mic on? I think we'll come back and see if we're not hearing you just yet. So we're going to see if we can bring Tyler in just a little bit here. But again, the Atlanta airport is not airing or playing a video, rather, that deals with Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and where she assigns the blame for the government shutdown. So we're going to get a check-in of that in just a little bit. But as we continue here in the 2 o'clock streaming hour, we're so glad to have you here with us live. We are going to get a check of our weather forecast, and we're going to check in and see what to expect, because if you can see from the airport right there, gorgeous day, blue skies, fall feel. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey standing by. Jonathan, on days like this, I have to imagine you don't have much to talk about weather-wise.
Really, I just have to show up to work and run my mouth, which is something I am unfortunately pretty good at.
You are very good at it.
It's something that everyone is certainly smiling about. We have completely blue skies out there. There's not a cloud in the sky, especially across North Georgia today, and it will continue to be fairly serene as we go throughout the really the work week.
Okay.
Temperatures are running slightly above average, but by and large, I don't see any problems.
So, question for you. Should we expect any rain chances, or I know that this weekend, Sunday, probably bears the biggest chance for rain. Is that still holding?
So it's like this. Imagine if you were ironing a shirt and your shirt, was pretty nicely, before you already threw it in.
Sure.
You're looking for that one wrinkle.
Okay.
So with the forecast, Sunday is literally the one wrinkle that we're looking at. The rain is not going to be that impressive.
Yeah.
We're talking about maybe a half inch if you put them, in an average. So maybe some communities getting closer to an inch, while other communities getting more of a quarter of an inch of rainfall. So nothing really sizable, or nothing that will put a dent in the drought. So it's really what we're not getting is maybe the major story right now, and that is our exacerbated drought conditions across the area. So I'm going to show you this map here. Just give me 1 second to pull it up. And it shows you just how parched the ground is. It's thirsty. It needs some rainfall. And so I expect this map to actually be more, how should I put this here? I expect the orange that you see on the map here that indicates that we're in a severe drought to actually expand. And so right now it covers the Atlanta metro area. And for points to the south, I think, the drought conditions will certainly be exacerbated. Have you got any rain at your house?
No, I have to say, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's many folks' story across the area. So
Yeah.
there were some of our eastern communities that got some showers Sunday, but by and large, this dry streak, it continues just for another 4 to 5 days with the hope of some rain coming on Sunday.
It really is incredible, Jonathan, because, when I take a look at this, I feel like when I notice rain, we get so much at once here in the South and in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And really since August, I feel like we've turned an entire part 1 to part 2, so to speak. And it is not, if it rains, I feel like it's a sprinkling, a drizzling, or maybe the ground's just so thirsty that it just soaks right up. But
So let me go around the way to come back to your point.
Okay.
The National Weather Service office here, we have meetings a couple times a year. And generally in those meetings, we look back on either the year that was or the season that was. I am so ready for our next meeting to come up.
Yeah.
Because 2025 has been one interesting year of weather. We started out with all of the snow of January.
Yes.
We had a pretty active February
You're
and
right.
March in terms of thunderstorms and tornado warnings out the wazoo. Things were pretty active in terms of temperature fluctuations through April and into May. We warmed up fairly quickly. The summer just suddenly cut off in August.
It's like, what happened?
Here we are. And so we're now in this lull, but we know the pattern will change, and trust me, I'll be tracking it. I'm looking for the change.
I know you're going to be on top of it, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Well, thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up, we're going to have more news for you guys, and that's on the other side. So we're going to see you back here soon. welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with me on our 2 o'clock streaming hour here on your Tuesday afternoon. It is great to have you. I want to get you guys a check of a story we were just talking about, and that involves Atlanta's airport joining a lot of other major United States airports, and that it will not play a video from Kristi Noem, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And our Tyler Fingert's been talking to airport officials about this story. So Tyler, great to see you. What have you been finding out from leaders there at the airport?
Well, Ariel, good afternoon to you. I can tell you that the announcement was made a little more than an hour ago that the world's busiest airport will not be playing that brand new video from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, which essentially is blaming Democrats for this ongoing government shutdown. If that video would have been approved, it would have been playing on these video screens right here at the TSA checkpoints. Those video screens currently play a message from Secretary Noem about Real ID and also some other details about what you need to do when you actually are up going through security here. I want to show you the statement that an airport spokesperson sent to Fox 5 this afternoon. It says, quote, Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport strives to maintain a neutral and welcoming environment for all travelers. In keeping with federal and local airport policies, we will not display the recently distributed video from DHS on airport-controlled media. As we come back out here live, that last few words of that message are key here, saying that airport-controlled media, because these video screens are not owned by the Department of Homeland Security or the Transportation Security Administration, but rather the airport. The airport owns this. Hartsfield-Jackson, they own those video screens. They decide what goes on those video screens. Obviously, the TSA provides some video clips that then have to be approved by the Department of Aviation here in the city of Atlanta, and then ultimately they do end up there. So you may be wondering, if you haven't seen it yet, what is this new video clip? Take a listen. We're going to play it for you right now.
I am Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay. We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government.
All gates, all flights, all airlines, right this way.
So that is the video at the center of all of this. Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport joins a growing list of airports which have refused to air that video. Several national media outlets report airports big and small across the country have announced they won't air the video as well. Some of those include airports in Phoenix, Seattle, and New York. Airport officials across the country have cited multiple reasons for refusing to play the video, from concerns about its political content to potential violations of federal law, specifically the Hatch Act, a 1939 statute designed to prevent federal employees from using their positions to influence elections or how government programs are administered. While ATL did not mention the Hatch Act, some other airports did. A short time ago, I spoke to an Emory University political scientist about that. Take a listen to what she had to say.
Airports are in close communication with the Department of Homeland Security for security checkpoints and with the FAA in terms of the regulation of air travel. So what we have going on there is an example of what we would call cooperative federalism, where everybody is working together, right? Because there are rules that the state and local governments play with the national government in terms of ensuring air safety. But they themselves, like these leaders of local airports, are not themselves federal employees, as far as I understand. And so in that instance, they're not covered by the Hatch Act. But what they're doing is they're saying Secretary Noem is violating the Hatch Act, and so we're just not gonna. So therefore, we feel empowered to not follow this directive, because all of us, regardless of whether we, are private civilians or we work for state or local government or national government, are all going to be subject to federal laws and regulations in some way, shape, or form. They're just basically saying, we don't think that this is a legitimate order, and so we're not going to follow it because we think she is violating federal law.
So again, back out here live at the main TSA checkpoint here at the world's busiest airport. At this point, it is unclear whether there could be any retaliation to this decision by airport leaders here in Atlanta and other airports across the country by not playing this video. That's something we're going to have to wait and see, Ariel.
Yeah, Tyler, that would be my thought, right, is have we heard anything from the federal government as to any consequences of not airing this video? What does that look like? And I'd have to imagine, you know, that airport officials there at Hartsfield-Jackson would make the same decision regardless of who's in power, that they want to make sure that they uphold the Hatch Act. So they're not going to allow these sort of political activities to be on their screens regardless of whether it's Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that it clearly was a lengthy process, possibly, to come to this decision. And the reason I come to that conclusion is we had reached out overnight. One of our assignment desk employees reached out overnight to the airport to see what they had to say, since other airports across the country were announcing that they weren't going to be playing the video. They responded to us at 8 a.m. this morning. I think it was 8:08 a.m. that they were actively working on a statement, and they would get it to us shortly. That shortly turned out to be somewhere around the 1 o'clock hour. They had to get approval from not only the leaders here at the airport, but they also had, I guess, get legal approval as well. So it was a lengthy process to even get us that statement that I read to you at the top of this hit here. So obviously they're trying to weigh certain things because they don't want this to turn into, I would assume, a political theater here at the TSA checkpoint. The goal, obviously, just to make sure that this is a safe place for people to go through security and be able to get onto a flight and continue on to their destination. The other thing I will mention, Ariel, because being here, you obviously see videos they're playing right there. They have closed captioning on it. The thing I'll point out, there is no audio playing out here. So if that video would have been played here, there's a chance that you wouldn't have actually heard Secretary Kristi Noem. You would have just seen the closed captioning and people could read it. But obviously the airport deciding that they believe that they want to be able to stay neutral here, clearly viewing the video as political.
Tyler, thanks for that analysis and breakdown and making sense of this for us. I'm sure this won't be the last time we see you there at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. So thanks so much for keeping us informed. Guys, as I bring you back here to the studio, I'm looking, and it's a busy day of news, and not just here locally, but also nationally. So I want to bring you out to the White House because President Trump today is meeting with Javier Milei, Argentina's president, and the United States has actually just offered a $20 billion lifeline to Argentina's economy. This is a deepening between the two presidents, both in Argentina and here in the United States. I've watched Vice President J.D. Vance sit there alongside President Trump. So let's listen in maybe for just a little bit and see what the president has to say.
We have worse. What they do very well is they send their criminals into the United States, and they send Tren de Aragua, that you know very well. You're from Venezuela, I assume. And they send them in by the thousands, literally. And these are the worst of all. And they empty their prisons into the United States. They empty their mental institutions into the United States. And because we had a president who's low IQ, he didn't realize what was going on. And the people that are high IQ that surround him, but they happen to be lunatics, radical left, they're highly intelligent, radical left lunatics, okay? So in a way, that's worse than having a guy like Biden. But they ran the show. You heard about the AutoPen, the person that really operated the AutoPen, but it was really the people that told the person that operated the AutoPen what to do. Those are the people that really were president, okay? So we're not going to stand for it in this country. And by the way, that AutoPen thing is under serious investigation. Just this, I don't think you care, because you're from Argentina, you couldn't care less about that. But I just want to say, because I do the weave, you know, the weave, cover a lot of different subjects. But the people that are involved in that AutoPen scam, because he barely signed anything. I mean, this guy, I don't know how you can be president. He barely signed it. But the only thing we can find for sure is that he signed Hunter's pardon, his pardon. Hunter's pardon, I like that. That's a good combination. So we're going to work very much with the president. We think he's going to win. He should win. And if he does win, we're going to be very helpful. And if he doesn't win, we're not going to waste our time, because you have somebody whose philosophy has no chance of making Argentina great again.
What's your advice for me?
Go ahead.
What's your advice for
Just to check something, you said Hamas assured you that they would disarm. Was that a direct conversation or through Mr. Witkoff? Or?
Through my people.
Okay.
At the highest level.
What's your advice?
And it was meant for him.
What's your advice for President Milei and Argentina?
So you heard President Trump there speaking with reporters and the Argentinian president sitting there, as well as other United States leaders. And what's interesting here is that this deepening relationship between Javier Milei and President Trump has led to this sort of economic tie between the two presidents. Again, President Trump giving $20 billion to help Argentina's economy, which we're going to talk about, of course, as our news progresses. But I do want to let you know, in other news, President Trump also putting pressure on Congress to pay our military. And this pressure isn't just from the president. It's also coming from members of the government, both on the Democratic and Republican sides. It's also coming from members of the military themselves who say they need to be paid. The government shutdown is now in its third work week. And we know that today a group of military veterans from the Iraq and Afghanistan wars have actually been holding a news conference to talk a little bit about why they believe the government needs to fund their paychecks. I'm sure a lot of government workers are feeling the same, but I know that, as you can see this live picture here, they're still on Capitol Hill talking about this. So let's listen in for just a little bit to see what they have to say.
Bill.
I'm Ken Greenberg with Jewish War Veterans, the National Executive Director. We stand with our colleagues here today to support Congress ending the government shutdown and paying our Troops Act. The Paying Our Troops Act should also include the Public Health Service in NOAA. Politics has to be stopped when it comes to veterans in the military community. It's plain and simple. The Congress people come, they make promises, they get elected, and then they don't do their job. Doing their job is passing a budget, passing provisions to help the military and veteran community. JWE stands and calls on Congress to enact a continuing resolution, Pay Our Troops Act, and do what's right for veterans and the military community. We deserve what we earn. We stand up, we took the oath. It's more than just about health care and benefits. We are real people. And we stood up and did what we needed to do and stood with our oath and stood with our colleagues. Congress needs to stand up and do what's right for veterans in the military community. And they need to do it now. Thank you.
You were listening in as members, veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars stand on Capitol Hill calling on Congress to reopen the government and to fund their paychecks. And I do want to let you know one of the big holdups, as you're probably already aware, health care subsidies. But as we look at this, lawmakers are still gridlocked on coming to any kind of agreement. The subsidies aren't the only things that are on the line. Friday, the Trump administration announced that it would be firing more than 4,000 federal workers. This is across the Department of Education. We know that workers at the Smithsonian Museum in D.C. and other places are now being laid off. And Vice President J.D. Vance has said that they are looking at tariffs and other budgets within the Department of War to be able to fund paychecks for our military. This has been an ongoing issue that they're working to get creative with money within the federal government to be able to fund the paychecks for our troops. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this progresses. I do know that just earlier, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson appeared on Capitol Hill and gave a news conference, and he said this may be the longest government shutdown in history as lawmakers are still unable to come to a deal. So coming up, we're going to be getting a check of some weather up in North Georgia, and we're also going to be speaking with an agent on how to navigate the process of fixer-upper homes. Maybe you've thought about fixer-upper homes as a way to make extra money. Maybe your home's a fixer-upper itself. We're going to get into it and talk about some tips to navigate the process. That's coming up next. Welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. It's so good to see you here in our 2 o'clock streaming hour. So thanks so much for being with us. If you're here in our YouTube chat, I'm taking a look right now. I see Allie Leary's pretty active and chatting along with us. So Allie, great to see you, and thanks for your comments. So I do want to get you guys a check of our weather up in North Georgia. Those temperatures are getting cooler. I think we're all in that fall spirit. And up in LJ, there's an apple festival going on. Perhaps you've been, perhaps you've enjoyed it. Our Alex Forbes is checking out some different farms up there, letting you know what to expect and what the weather bodes ahead. Let's check it out with Alex.
Well, October in LJ can only mean one thing, and that is the Georgia Apple Festival. Last weekend was the first weekend, and now this upcoming weekend, the Gilmer Fairgrounds back here, we've got the second round of the Arts and Crafts Fair, but then also all of the different apple orchards here selling their fruits for the season that they've worked hard to grow over the past year. So up here in Gilmer County, we've seen a stretch of cool mornings. Temperatures have been in the 40s, even low 40s. In fact, just up the road in Blue Ridge, I've seen a number as low as 42 so far this season, and there's going to be more where that came from here in the days ahead. The Apple Festival forecast looks, we'll say 80% good. Saturday is going to be completely dry. Temperatures in the 70s. Fantastic time up here. Sunday, I think things could get a little dicey. If you want to visit on Sunday, the morning hours probably the better bet. As we work our way into the afternoon, that chance of widespread rain is going to begin to build in. I tell you what, wind is somewhat blowing up here today. That's making it feel kind of nice, even though temperatures are in the upper 70s. Now, here on Fox Local today, we're going to be doing something pretty cool. We're visiting 4 orchards in 4 hours. So we're going to start with Hillcrest Orchards coming up here at 3 o'clock, and then through the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock newscast, we're going to make our way down Highway 53 here in Gilmer County and show you what you can also check out on days where the Apple Festival's not happening, right? You don't necessarily need to come up here this weekend if you want to get your Apple fix for the season. But for now, under blue skies up here in Gilmer County, I'm Alex Forbes, Fox 5 News.
Looks like a lot of fun and a great way to get out and enjoy the weekend. So another way you may enjoy the weekend, or perhaps not depending on your point of view, is spending a little love on your fixer-upper home. And the reason we're talking about this is because of a recent Realtor.com report that found fixer-upper properties are priced roughly 54% lower than the median single-family home here in the United States. So this could be a great way to enter the real estate market, maybe make some extra money on the side. I want to bring in Azizi Penny from Home Smart, an agent, to talk about this. And Azizi, it's great to see you. Tell me a little bit about fixer-upper homes. How can we make sure that they're worth our hard-earned bucks, and how do we navigate that process?
How you doing, Ariel? Thank you for having me. My name again is Azizi Penny with Home Smart. I've been serving Atlanta since 2011, specializing in home renovations and new construction. This year, I just want you to know I've sold properties ranging from $375 to $1.98 million, and they have all been renovations. And my favorite local contractors are Milani Homes. So they've helped me, and I've had a lot of great success just this year with remodels and renovations.
Azizi, tell me a little bit about how can we know whether a fixer-upper is worth it? Is it sometimes too needing maybe too much love and it's not worth it for us? Is it a personal decision where everyone kind of has to see what their needs are? How do we tell and navigate that process if that fixer-upper is worth our time?
Well, real estate is always going to be a great investment. It has the highest probability of making a return, especially over time, if you can handle the carrying cost, of course. There are many factors to determine the worth. Location is one very important one. The asking price, of course, the amount of work the property needs. You know, does the property have good bones? The framing, sound structure. When you walk the property for the first time, how do you feel? You know, how does the property feel in its rawest form? Is the floor creaking? So there's a lot that goes into it, and it also depends on who your buyer is. You know, if you're a more seasoned investor or if you're a regular person, you know, the motivations are. It depends on what you want to do in the end. Also, in terms of renting or just a quick flip. So it's very involved, but if you have professionals that you know and work with that can help you, I believe it's important because, you know, you only have one chance, and especially for an individual, you know, we're dealing with life savings. We're not, you know, it's not just so much money that you have to invest. You're dealing with your life savings. So you literally have one chance, and you can't test the market. You know, you'll lose it all, you know, so you have to measure a few times and cut once, you know, make the right decision.
It makes sense because everyone has different priorities. And I'm curious, if you're looking at the listing for a fixer-upper home or even just navigating the process, what red flags can we watch out for? Are there things that maybe someone who's not used to buying a fixer-upper or who wants to get into this game doesn't know that they should know?
Wow. The only way to avoid that, I believe, is experience. It's very hard to go in your first time and you can't catch everything. And you can't expect for the people that you work with to catch everything. But you can tell in a description, if the property needs work. The biggest one is for sale by owners. And also sold as is. These are properties that need work, and the seller may not want to address the concerns, not necessarily because they can't, but because they just don't want to deal with it. They would rather have the buyer deal with it. So these are properties that, needs TLC, needs improvement, investor opportunities. These are key words that you can find lots of potential builders and developers welcome. These are key words that you can find, but the major indicator is the overall price, and also the photography. The photography you'll see it all, in the photography usually. So.
It makes sense because when you start to get in there and start to pay attention, you begin to notice a lot of different things. My final question to you is, what factors should buyers weigh when they're considering flipping or renting a fixer-upper? Okay,
it just depends on the buyer, but I could say this. You have to be able to make it through the renovation process. It's a very risky for the individual. In my experience, it's very difficult for, you have to have that vision. And most individuals, they may rent the property because they can't sell it. That's a really bad situation, because most, in my experience, individuals do not buy a property, renovate it, and then sell it, or should I say rent it. No one, honestly, no one wants to do that.
Right.
No one wants to be a landlord in that way. Maybe they become a landlord in other ways, but if they rent it, usually it means that they couldn't sell it, or they couldn't sell it without major price reductions. So another way to tell, is the size of the home. If you have two homes, one is much larger, one is much smaller, the larger home would probably be the one that you would flip, because the square footage, usually when you have a larger property, larger square footage, more bedrooms, more baths, it is greater a room for profit in the end versus the smaller property. So the smaller property is great to hold because you invest less and the carrying costs are less, and after 3 to 5 years you get you're out of the capital gains, so you can literally make your profit back, and the carrying costs it's a lot less. So because someone's renting the property, you know what I mean? Someone's renting the property throughout that time. So it just, again, but it's about who the buyer is and the buyer's motivation. Because I would hate to be a buyer who invests in a property to sell, but end up having to rent the property because you can't sell it without giving it away.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think with the way the market is right now, interest rates, it's something that people have to consider. And if you're in the market for a home that maybe you can spend love on over time, and it's going to be your home for life, or at least for a long period of time, it makes a lot of sense. Give it that TLC. But Azizi Penny, thanks so much for joining us, giving us a little insight into fixer-upper homes and how we can navigate that process. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. My brokerage is HomeSmart. You can reach them at homesmart.com, or my personal website is just my name, azizipenny.com. And thank you, Ariel, for having me. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. We'll see you later. Okay, guys, coming up, we're going to be getting a check on the war in the Middle East and the peace deal that is currently in effect now. What does that mean as we continue to look ahead at the rebuilding of Gaza? That's coming up next. welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along here with us in the 2 o'clock hour here on Fox Local. It is great to have you. I want to get you guys an update on the peace deal in the Middle East, because as you know, we watched historic moments unfold yesterday in Israel as the hostages were released back to their families. Today, the peace deal continues to hold, but key details of this peace plan are still unresolved today as we begin to look at phase 2 and we begin to look at what is next for the future of Gaza. We know that 20 Israeli hostages and 1,900 Palestinian prisoners were exchanged yesterday. Right now, those hostages in Israel are undergoing medical treatment. They're reunited with their families. And as you saw, President Trump signing that ceremonial peace agreement in Egypt, now looking at phase 2 of the ceasefire deal, which is what's next for Gaza? How do we maintain this peace? And big thing that the president said was just all these leaders of these Arab nations that you see lined up alongside of him coming to become invested in peace and deciding that they wanted to help further this process. So I do want to bring in Dov Wilker from the American Jewish Committee. He has been working with the American Jewish Committee, and as we know, this committee has been instrumental in lobbying for the release of the Israeli hostages. So Dov, thank you so much for joining us. It is great to have you on. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me. Today is a really wonderful day for us.
So, Dov, so many questions, and I think as people look at how to make sense of this, the big question is, with this peace agreement, what are some of the next steps? How do we get this peace to last, right? I mean, it feels like we're chasing a unicorn.
Yeah, you know, I think it's important to remind the audience that we had the 20 living hostages were returned to Israel yesterday, and 4 of the dead hostages were returned. Sadly, that leaves 24 additional deceased hostages still in Gaza, and that's actually one of the things that's holding up the next step in the process. Is Israel is waiting for Hamas to deliver and return those additional hostages. Now, I just saw a report that 4 additional hostages will be returned in the coming hours, but there are still then 20 additional hostages waiting to be returned. And as President Trump shared, they are expected to be returned immediately as per the deal that Hamas has signed onto. So starting with the return of all of those hostages is going to be a major step.
And I can imagine that would be very important for this peace deal to continue. So it was so incredible to watch, you know, those historic moments unfold yesterday. You saw families reunited on both sides, both in the West Bank and in Israel, and just peace is always a good thing, and it's something that we've worked long and hard for. You know, our leaders have worked long and hard for. So I think a big question, you know, as you've looked at this process, what made peace possible this time? Why now? What were the, you know, and you may or may not know, right? But just from your expertise, what made it possible?
Yeah, look, I mean, today is the 2-year anniversary on the Jewish calendar of the October 7th massacre. And I think what you saw by the videos that you've shown is the number of Muslim and Arab countries that came together to tell Hamas that it was time to end the war, that it was time to return the hostages, as well as the relationship between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, to say that many of the war goals have been achieved and that the return of the hostages is the most important thing. So I think part of what is unique to this current situation is the role that all of the Arab countries played, not just Qatar, but Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, even Indonesia, as far away as the largest Muslim country. So all of these countries, I believe, got to a point for their relationship with Hamas and the Palestinian people that they wanted to see a brighter future, that Israel was conducting a war against Hamas and was in the beginning stages of taking over Gaza City, which would have been the last stronghold for Hamas, but which also sadly would have meant the death and destruction of much of the infrastructure and civilians. And so those countries around the world don't want to see any more civilians killed. They don't want to see the destruction. And they want to see, most importantly, the Israeli hostages returned home to enable an end to this. So I think that's a major step that we are seeing, is the unification, frankly, of the Arab and Muslim world, a unification that we truly haven't seen in many, many decades.
Yeah, you know, Dove, I think it's so important to consider the larger geopolitical kind of climate at the time, like you're saying, and to have Indonesia there, you know, to see President Trump extend an olive branch even to Iran to say, hey, the door's open. I'd like peace with you, too, even though he said that our bombing of Iran kept them from getting a nuclear weapon before this peace deal was to take effect. So a lot of, you know, very interesting factors. I have about 20 seconds left with you, you know, just final thoughts as we look ahead here.
So the most important thing, and what makes me most hopeful, is my ability to remove this yellow hostage pin from my lapel, knowing that the 20 living hostages have returned home, knowing that there are still 24 more remaining, but that those will be brought home soon, because President Trump wants to see that happen, Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to see that happen, and the rest of the Arab leaders and Muslim leaders want to see that. So I'm hopeful for the future and the return of all of the hostages.
No more innocent lives lost. May their memories be a blessing. Dove, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you. And thanks so much for streaming along with us here, guys, in the 2 o'clock hour. The news continues at 3 o'clock, and Tom Haynes will be here shortly. Great to see you.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for streaming with us here for the 3 p.m. hour of Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom on what is yet another busy Tuesday afternoon of news. Going to begin in our nation's capital, where it is a busy day. The president meeting at the White House with the leader of Argentina, and the United States Senate just went into session to try to end the government shutdown, something they've been trying to do for exactly 2 weeks now. This is the 14th day with Republican and Democrats still unable to agree on a way forward on how to reopen the government. The Senate floor, as I mentioned, just reopened for the day. They're going to try to hold a vote, though no one is confident that they will come to an agreement on terms to reopen the government. Both Democrats and Republicans digging in. Republicans presenting a bill that would basically continue what is already law and on the books in terms of government funding. Democrats want to use this opportunity to extend certain Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare subsidy benefits. We'll continue to watch the situation in Washington, D.C., and at the White House as the president holds a meeting now with the leader of Argentina. Some very interesting sound coming out of that, and we will bring it to you. Want to refocus your attention locally now and begin with a situation in Sandy Springs that we've been following really for the past couple of hours. An officer involved grazed by a bullet, we understand, responding to a shots fired call. Let's get out to Kevin Stewart, who's live following the situation. First of all, how is that officer doing, Kevin? And give us a little more detail about what happened here.
Yeah, the great news is that officer is fine. I can tell you that much. And the good news is that this is all over with. The officer was taken to Northside Hospital after being shot. He got hit in the thumb, a graze. So again, he's going to be okay. We've gotten a chance to move in a little closer to the scene since our last live shot at 2 o'clock. I want to show you exactly, or you see the flashing lights over here on Carroll Manor Drive. That's where this all happened, a house down the street over there. Let's rewind and show you some of the scene from a couple of hours ago. You know, this is, like I said, on Carroll Manor Drive. It started around 11 o'clock when police got a shot of a call. Shots fired at the house, and the officer went inside the house, and when he went inside, the gunman shot, and the officer returned fire. While the officer managed to get out, the suspect barricaded himself inside his home for a couple of hours before he finally gave up. In the meantime, right now, neighbors are stunned trying to figure out why this happened in their normally quiet neighborhood.
At approximately 11:10 this morning, my apologies, officers responded to the area of Carroll Manor Drive.
Gentleman of the house they're at, I know him personally for the last couple of years. He's a very nice man. I hear that there's some troubles to let one of the police officers know that he's a really nice guy. Obviously, if he shot somebody, that's not good.
He is being transported to an area hospital to be further treated and evaluated. We have asked the assistance of GBI to take over the investigation.
So again, the GBI is now on the scene processing all of that. Earlier, we indicated police thought this area was going to be shut down for a few more hours, but they've opened it up a little bit so people who do live in the area, you can come back and see if you can get inside your home. One thing you also noted is that, I said that there was an exchange of gunfire. Once the suspect shot at the officer, hit him in the thumb, he returned fire, but it's unclear if the officer's shot hit the suspect. We do know that he has been taken to a hospital and he will get a full evaluation, physical and mental. Tom?
Kevin, I'm just looking at the map as to where you are. Carroll Manor Drive. This is right before Holcomb Bridge Road, right just west of Georgia 400 where all this happened. And I understand, just by reading some notes here, that there was a huge police presence there on the scene when this all unfolded. We're talking about SWAT, K-9 units, but as you said, that's all disbanded, and now the investigation really happens.
Right. One of the things, and you heard from the soundbite there from the neighbor, she says, there were some problems there. We didn't want to get too specific. We do have some preliminary names, nothing released officially, but I can tell you that we do know that according to neighbors, there were some concerns about what was going on in the house, and he may have been having a tough time, and that's something that police obviously will continue to look into. But the good news here, without a shadow of a doubt, the officer responded to this incident, who was hit by a bullet. He is going to be okay. Tom?
Yeah, that is the good news in all this, and that the situation has been de-escalated and is over. Kevin Stewart there live for us in Sandy Springs. Kevin, thanks. From Sandy Springs to Clayton County, where we're monitoring another troubling situation. A 6-month-old baby missing, we understand, after a reported armed robbery in that area. Kim Loeffler is on the scene of where this whole thing started. Kim, any more information this afternoon as to where that child might be? All right, Kim, apparently a little bit of technical difficulty with your audio. I'm going to give you an opportunity to sort of recalibrate there, and we're going to check back in with you again. A 6-month-old baby missing. It's a really, really troubling story up in Clayton County, where Kim Loeffler is monitoring the latest developments there. We're going to check back in with Kim in just a moment. I want to take you back to Washington, D.C. The President of the United States is hosting the Argentine president this afternoon. They held what looked like a cabinet meeting. Not sure why this moved out of the Oval Office and into the cabinet room where the president usually assembles his cabinet, but it did. Javier Milei being greeted by President Trump this afternoon. Not too long ago, the two have a good relationship. The president very, very friendly with the Argentine leader, a libertarian, known for his big mop of hair on top of his head and his charismatic demeanor, arriving at the White House today. This was his first Oval Office meeting with President Trump. He's described as a libertarian, somebody who's trying to shake up the Argentine economy. The United States stepping in not too long ago at the request of Argentina, moving ahead with a $20 billion bailout of the Latin American nation as it tries to retool and recalibrate its own economy, get things back on the ground there. You see Milei meeting with President Trump not too long ago at the East Portico of the White House before moving back in. Again, his first Oval Office meeting with the president. The president set to meet later this week with the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, on the heels of his huge peace deal in the Middle East. Speaking of, want to move to developments now from the Middle East, where President Trump just was. The president not only speaking to the Israeli Knesset, but also headed to Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, for a big Peace 2025 summit where there was a lot of hugs, a lot of embracing among former captives of Hamas, Israeli citizens who were taken into captivity by Hamas, those hostages released. Many are still, the deceased, believed to be in Hamas custody and are waiting their return of their remains. Leaders now looking at phase 2 of this ceasefire deal. How do we rebuild Gaza? And so the president there assembled leaders of Middle Eastern nations, Arab nations, and leaders of Europe who all assembled at that Peace 2025 summit. The leaders of Great Britain, Italy, France, even the Prime Minister of Canada flying in for that conference. President Trump saying with only moments' notice before he was able to sign the peace accord between Israel and Hamas. And now the rebuilding of Gaza really takes focus, and the return of the remains of those Israeli hostages is something that we are all waiting for. 20 world leaders in all meeting in Egypt to sign and finalize that framework. As we continue here, we're going to check back with Kim on that missing 6-month-old child and also get a check of our weather. The week started out on a beautiful note. We are really in the full throes of fall now, and we'll check in with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy as we continue here on a Tuesday, 3 p.m. edition of Fox Local. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So happy you're with us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haynes, live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Want to get you back out live to Clayton County now, where we're on top of that developing story, that missing 6-month-old child after a reported armed robbery. Kim Leffler there standing live on the scene. Kim, what more can you tell us about the circumstances which led up to this child going missing today?
Well, it's day 3 of the search for 6-month-old Nakai Pratt, and yesterday we learned Clayton County Police named his father as a suspect in his disappearance. As you can see, it's quiet here at the apartment complex. On Sunday and Monday, we saw Clayton County Police and investigators out here searching the woods, searching some of the apartment buildings, looking for any sign of this baby, and they tell us that they have not found him yet, and we're told they are looking at some of the evidence they've collected over the last several days to determine the next best place to search, but they tell us they are determined to find the 6-month-old baby. Now, the baby's father, if we take a look at some video that we have, the baby's father, Antonio Pierce, and if we have that video, he's seen there from a previous arrest in Gwinnett County back in May. He was arrested on unrelated charges to his son's disappearance on Monday. He faces a possession of marijuana and possession of marijuana charge, as well as multiple traffic violations. Now, police say they originally got called to this apartment complex off of Valley Hill Road for an alleged robbery and kidnapping a little after 8 Sunday morning. Police say Pierce said he was robbed at gunpoint for his valuables, and the suspect took his 6-month-old baby from the car seat he was in and fled the scene. Now, police say investigators got suspicious of that story due to inconsistent testimony, along with evidence they say points to foul play. Now, court records show Pierce has previously been charged with battery and battery and cruelty to children. He has multiple charges in 2022. Now take a listen to one neighbor we spoke with about this ongoing search.
It's devastating. It's devastating for such a little child, helpless. But I think it's a lot. I don't think there's going to be a good end to this. I just don't have a feeling that the ending is going to be very good. And everybody here knows it. We know the family. We know them. I mean, I don't know the babies. I didn't even know he had twins. I mean, I haven't seen him in like a year, but he was always really, he was always really a good person, always helped us out, and it's heartbreaking. It's just really sad.
Now, we do expect Pierce to have his first appearance tomorrow. As you heard in that soundbite there, Clayton County Police have confirmed that this baby is a twin, and the other baby, police say, is with their mother, and police do not say that the mother is involved in her son's disappearance. In this case, police are asking anyone, if you've seen Nakai Pratt, to call 911 or call the Clayton County Police Department. Of course, we are on scene here. We're continuing to follow up with the police for the latest information on this case, and of course, we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, you can really sense the concern and the alarm from that neighbor. Police not releasing any images of that 6-month-old to help people kind of jog their memories or help locate the child at this point?
We have not gotten any images from police besides the one that they had originally sent out on Sunday, which we have been showing you over the course of the last several days here on Fox 5. But of course, as soon as we get any more of those to help, with this search, we'll be sure to bring those right to you.
And just, the search was with canine units, cadaver dogs, found no sign of that missing infant, and investigators, as you said, determined that the mother really had nothing to do with this. All they want to do is find this missing 6-month-old child. Kim Leffler, let's hope that happens and that baby is okay. Kim, thanks. Want to take you live outside now for a look at downtown Atlanta. Boy, doesn't get much better than this. This is what many in our industry refer to as Chamber of Commerce weather, okay? Because it's so beautiful. To give somebody a tour of our city, today's the day you want to do it. Come on to Atlanta.
Yeah, invite someone into Atlanta during the month of October.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit deceptive because October and November tend to be our anomalies. But this is the best time to be here, and it's the best time to be outside.
Well, it's spectacular. I just got back from Washington, D.C., where we were dealing with a nor'easter all weekend.
Yes,
and I heard it was
yeah.
a kind of a beautiful weekend down here and a beautiful start to the work week, and we just want this to last and last and last, Jonathan. But will it? That's the big
interesting
question.
thing was we were lashed by the nor'easter that you were underneath. So there were some clouds that rolled by on Sunday, and for folks out east, let's start working on the computer here. This is not quite the right weather computer, so we'll talk through this and we'll get the text and specs figured out here. Once again, it's not the right weather computer that we're seeing there. But we were basically grazed by the storm, and you were riding kind of through it all.
Yeah.
And how was it actually? Because many people, especially here in the South, don't know what a nor'easter's like. What is that?
Windy, gusty,
Now we're on the
rainy.
money. Thanks, guys.
You know, just all of those elements combined in one.
Yeah, so you've been in a tropical storm too, because of your time in South Florida.
Not as
for sure.
intense.
All right, not as intense.
Just blustery.
Okay, just blustery.
You know,
okay,
blustery.
Add a bit of a chill to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little chill in the air too. Kind of actually, I dare I say, it's kind of nice. Felt like a fall, cool day up there, which is exactly what it was.
It's a day, especially for those who spend time in the Northeast in New England. It's very fall-like. It's not too much of a departure.
Emblematic of fall.
Yeah, you just kind of add in some winds and some pesky rain. Speaking of rain, we'd like to get some rain around here. In fact, there's a part and a portion of our area that is under a severe drought. That's the Atlanta metro area. Make a trip down I-85 and 75, and you'll find that drought conditions there are very similar to how they are in the metro area. We need rain. Simply put, just how far are we behind in the rain? Well, we're running a deficit of more than 5 inches for 2025 so far for the month, over 1.25 inches. And for the day, we're running behind on 1/10 of an inch. So we're going to have another dry day upon us tomorrow. We'll do the same on Thursday, Friday, and I think even Saturday's dry. Is Sunday when we have our one-hit wonder, our opportunity to bring some rain to the region, and that will come by way of a cold front that should, once again, hopefully we can wring out something from the front. Let's go ahead and show it to you here. In the short term, high pressure abides. It moves down from across the Great Lakes, takes a trip through the Ohio River Valley over the Appalachian Mountains, then center stage over the South Carolina Georgia state line. All the while, we'll be looking up to the north and to the west by Friday to track the timing of this front. Good news is our Falcons, they are on the road Sunday, so they won't face any weather problems, at least here at home. But if you do have some weekend plans, you got to consider that Saturday is going to be pretty much okay, increasing cloud cover, but Sunday is going to be the opportunity that many folks are waiting for. So maybe you can at least take one day and not run the sprinklers or have to do Mother Nature's work for yourself. In terms of how much we're going to get, you're not going to be impressed by these rainfall amounts. We're looking at amounts at their highest being around 1 inch. That's up across the northwestern corner of the state. Here in the metro area, if we can get a ½ inch, I'd be grateful for that, but it looks like it will likely be less, near 1/4 of an inch of rainfall when it's all said and done. So when we put all these days together, trying to make sense of this forecast, not too much to see here or to write home about, but I think we can be grateful. Nonetheless, we want the rain and we need the rain. We are developing a deficit and drought conditions are already latent across the area, but at least the weather is unproblematic. Now, we talk about October being fairly benign in terms of aggressive or active weather. That is true, but generally we are watching the tropics for something to be flirting with us, teasing us, scaring us, making us anxious, and that's just not happening this year. When the records are accounted for and we go back and look at 2025, it is going to be one interesting year of weather. We started out with a generous amount of winter weather in January, unprecedented snow here in Atlanta and for points to the north and the south of the city, an active February and March with dozens of tornado warnings, a pretty fluctuating April and May in terms of temperatures and rain, a lot of rain during the first part of the summer, and then by August it was like the atmosphere went on vacation, and it just hasn't come back yet, Tom.
Yeah, you were hoping for a second for something to develop down in the tropics, but it never came to fruition.
And that's the way it appears. Now, I will say we were watching something else again, and that can bring some rain, especially as we get into the second half of the month, but it's well outside of our 7-day window.
All right, Jonathan, thanks. I want to take you back live to Washington, D.C. Told you about that cabinet-like meeting with the Argentinian president. Trump is speaking. If we're going to dip in real quick and take a listen.
South America, Marco was telling me, he's like our great expert here. He really knows it. But you were telling me that so many of the countries are coming our way, and we had a few years ago when I just came back. So I've been here now almost 9 months, but when I just came in, I was amazed to see how poorly we've done. We lost so many, and one of them was Argentina, would be lost if he wasn't there. And I think he will be there because the people recognize he's done an amazing job. He took over a real mess. So did I take over a mess. I took over a mess by, the Biden group. And Obama he started it, I'll tell you. Barack Hussein Obama started it. Could you give a couple of words on South America? You were telling me so well yesterday how well we're doing. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, we have Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, talking on relations with South America, Latin America, as the president hosts the leader of Argentina after a big infusion of U.S. assets into that country to the tune of $20 billion. The Argentinian President Milei, a friend of President Trump, described as a libertarian, there being hosted at the White House in what appears to be like a cabinet-style meeting, though it's not. The president flanked on his left by the Secretary of State, on the right by the Vice President, the Treasury Secretary there as well, who led the effort to get that money down to Argentina in hopes of helping sort of revive or kickstart that economy. We'll keep listening to that news conference there at the White House, bring you any developments should they arise. Want to move to something a little more fun now, and that is something called adaptive golf. Had you ever heard of that? I really hadn't until today, and when I was studying up on our next guest, it's a great way for people with disabilities to play the game of golf, a game that so many people love. That's Tim Wilkes, the Senior Manager, Store Services and Experiences at the PGA Tour Superstore. Tim, thanks for being with us this afternoon. Tell me a little bit more, for those who haven't heard about it, about adaptive golf and how many iterations or variations of the sport are there based on people's disabilities?
Thank you, first of all, for having me. There is a lot of different levels of adaptive golf. They're really based on types of injury or diagnosis that goes with it. There is competitive play as well that has different categories that they compete under. But really what we focus in on is working with those that have limb limitations, cognitive issues, seated players. We also have blind, visually impaired, hearing impaired, and also short stature people that we try to make sure that we can make the game available for.
Love this idea because so many people are so passionate about golf. Some people are born with disabilities, some people aren't. Some people have played golf and then they're faced with a disability and they reach a point where they're like, gee, I really can't ever play golf again. And it's something that they love to do so much that I love the idea of adapting golf to their limitations. How is the PGA Superstore involved in adaptive golf?
The PGA Superstore has been amazingly supportive of adaptive golf, really from the beginning that I've been involved. What the common values that we share here at the PGA Tour Superstore is to make sure that we include others and we give back. And adaptive golf is really the epitome of just that. And what we've been able to do in supporting community programs and supporting adaptive athletes throughout the years, through whether it is equipment or fittings or instruction. It's just been an amazing ride to be a part of.
Understand, and this makes sense. From Children's Healthcare of Atlanta to the Shepherd Center and all of our local resource facilities that help people with disabilities and physical limitations. I mean, that's a huge part of what you guys do as well. Your involvement with those organizations and helping people who are recovering there be able to get out onto the links.
Absolutely. What's awesome about it is that, a lot of the times when people go through injuries or have a diagnosis in their lives, their focus becomes on all the things that they lost, right? And all the things that they can't do anymore. And to be able to share an amazing game that makes people feel normal makes people, forget about their injuries and focus more on getting this ball in the hole, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and why, Arthur Blank, the owner of the PGA Tour Superstore, is obviously somebody who is a part of this, and I'm sure that he's been a huge wind in your sails in terms of making adaptive golf more accessible, more popular. Tell us about Blank's involvement in this endeavor.
Mr. Blank has been such an amazing supporter of golf in general, the game, and not only providing opportunities through our retail space, but he himself is a golf nut. It's the best way I could say it. He can't get enough of it and loves to play it and loves to use it even just as a tool to decompress and to get his mind off things and to get some exercise and at the same time.
Yeah, and if I'm somebody with some kind of physical limitation, or I know somebody with a physical limitation and I want to get them back out onto the links or introduce them to the sport some way, somehow, how do I get involved in adaptive golf?
Well, the best avenue that I would say is the Georgia State Golf Association has one of the premier programs and have built programs throughout the state. And these are community programs that I'm talking about that focus in on, providing golf for those that have limited mobility, those that have, challenges and the need to adapt. And there's been just an amazing group built there with the Georgia State Golf Association. So if you go onto their website, you can check out all of their adaptive programs, their locations, and volunteer opportunities. That's always something that they need. I think it's pretty amazing when I go to these clinics. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate who's actually a clinic participant and who's volunteering, because sometimes the injuries are the same.
Yeah, well, knowing golfers the way I do, they are serious and passionate about their sport, and people with disabilities, certainly no exception. And through adaptive golf, you guys are making their return to the links possible. Tim Wilkes, the Senior Manager, Store Services and Experiences at the PGA Tour Superstore. Tim, thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
As we continue here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour, we're going to take you back live to Capitol Hill, where work continues on trying to reopen the government. The Senate just went back into session. They're going to hold a vote today on whether that's going to happen. Also, are you looking for a job? Well, Facebook is reintroducing a tool to help you find one. We're going to tell you about that as we continue here. Welcome back. We have a bit of breaking news for you. A sad development in that huge and horrific wreck on I-85 near Commerce that happened yesterday. An 8th body now, we understand, has been recovered. Take a look at this scene there of where that accident happened, about 62 miles northeast of Atlanta. Again, officials telling us now that an 8th body, just remarkable to even hear that, as a result of a major accident which shut down I-85 northbound close to the evening commute Monday afternoon. And this development today, that semi-trailer, tractor-trailer truck striking a van, bursting into flames, and this is the result. 8 people dead, 85 northbound in that crash that we were covering here yesterday afternoon. Pretty incredible to even consider such a thing. Continue to keep tabs on that situation for you as well. Back up to D.C., the United States Senate back in session this afternoon, trying to reconcile a deal between Democrats and Republicans to reopen the government. We are on day 14 now with the Republicans and Democrats still unable to agree on a way forward. The Senate floor reopening just before we started streaming with you here in the 3 p.m. hour, but votes to fund the government have been postponed, we understand, until 5:30 this afternoon during our 5 p.m. news time on Fox 5. And if there's any developments in terms of reopening the government, we certainly will bring that to you. Meantime, Washington, D.C. is all but shut down. I was just up there over the weekend trying to go to some of the Smithsonian museums. That didn't happen because the Smithsonian network of museums has been shuttered. As is often the case with government shutdowns, the city is at a virtual standstill, except for lawmakers on Capitol Hill who are trying to work this out. We heard from both parties today in the United States House. House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking to reporters not too long ago. Let's listen to what the House Speaker had to say.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today, we'd be remiss if we did not make some remarks about the extraordinary historic moment, or many moments, that happened yesterday in Israel. The world's eyes are still fixed on Israel, where President Trump is welcoming home now the last of the hostages who've endured 2 years in Hamas captivity. I thought it was remarkable. I saw a video last night of one of the released hostages who made the point that as soon as the election was held in November in the United States, Hamas began to treat him and his fellow hostages much better. They fed them better, they respected them more, they changed the tone of how they treated them, they no longer spit upon them, as he said in his own words. Elections have consequences, and he said or implied that the Hamas was counting on Kamala Harris to win and not President Donald J. Trump. But thankfully for the whole world, that didn't happen. And this is an historic moment. It deserves enormous credit and recognition on the world stage. It's truly, truly historic. For generations, we have aspired to peace in the Middle East, everyone around the world, and now President Trump has delivered it. I'm going to make an announcement today. It's the announcement in the U.S. that was made in the Knesset yesterday. I'm proud to tell you that together with my friend Speaker Ohana of the Israeli Knesset, the equivalent of our Congress, we're going to embark upon a project together to rally speakers and presidents of parliaments around the world so that we will jointly nominate President Donald J. Trump for next year's Nobel Peace Prize. No one has ever deserved that prize more, and that is an objective fact. As Speaker Ohana said before the Knesset yesterday, quote, "Whoever saves one life, it is though he has saved an entire world." That's what some of the rabbis there would say, some of the sages he noted funded benefits. It would cost taxpayers nearly $200 billion. They would also remove a very reasonable and modest work requirement that we put on able-bodied young men with no dependents. As we've said, they should not be riding the wagon and taking Medicaid. That is intended for vulnerable populations, the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, for example, and not young able-bodied men without dependents who are playing video games. We put that into the law because it's common sense. Their counterproposal would reverse that. So taxpayers would be funding them again. They would make in their counterproposal permanent COVID-era Obamacare subsidies without any income caps or any other reforms at all. They would make that permanent. That would cost taxpayers an estimated $358 billion. They would take away the $50 billion that we put into the law to support rural hospitals. They would remove that. And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI+ democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa.
All right, that's the House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking to reporters earlier, started talking about the historic peace deal made in the Middle East between Hamas and Israel and the developments that happened there. We also heard from the Democratic minority leader, somebody on the other side of this who's part of the negotiation in terms of reopening and funding the government. Let's listen to some of what Hakeem Jeffries said earlier today.
Remain committed to finding a bipartisan path forward to reopen the government, enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people and addresses the Republican health care crisis. The American people know that Republicans have shut the government down because of their unwillingness to provide health care to everyday Americans, working class Americans, and middle class Americans. The Republicans have created a health care crisis that is devastating people all across the country. Working class America, rural America, urban America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities all throughout America. That Republican health care crisis includes, but is not limited to, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing all throughout the country because of what Republicans did in their one big ugly bill. The country faces a possible $536 billion cut to Medicare if Congress doesn't act by the end of this year. The Republicans continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to result in tens of millions of Americans experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. All across the country, including, most significantly, in states that Donald Trump won, and Republicans could care less. House Republicans canceled votes 2 weeks ago, canceled votes last week, canceled votes this week. House Republicans are on vacation. House Democrats are on duty here in Washington, D.C., ready to reopen the government, ready to support our troops and hardworking federal civil servants, and ready to address the Republican health care crisis that is crushing people all across the country in an environment where the cost of living is already too high.
All right, that's House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. It's a he said type of situation on Capitol Hill. We played you sound from House Majority Leader Mike Johnson about what Republicans want to keep this government going. We played you sound from Hakeem Jeffries as to what Democrats want. The big question is, can these two sides come together and hammer out a deal? That's what we're all watching. It affected markets a little bit last week, not today. And the president speaking about trade with China today, the Dow Jones Industrial is up 130 points right now after plunging hundreds of points last week on news that trade relations with China have become frosty, if you will. The president just putting out on his Truth Social just a couple of minutes ago, I picked it up, that he believes China is purposefully not buying our soybeans, causing difficulty for our soybean farmers. Economically hostile act from the president. We're considering terminating business with China having to do with cooking oil and other elements of trade as retribution. As an example, we can easily produce cooking oil ourselves. We don't need to purchase it from China. Tariffs taking a huge toll on businesses here. Some have been forced to raise their prices about 10 to 30% based on troubles with China. These two leaders, President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, are expected to meet at the APEC summit face-to-face at the end of the month. Will they? We don't know. The president had said, maybe I will, maybe I won't. The Treasury Secretary coming out saying that he believes that this meeting is going to happen and that relations will thaw and we can get things back on track. So how is this affecting the economy? How is this affecting you finding a job? Facebook is stepping into the mix with a tool to make it easier for their users to find work with the return of its job listing feature, something they had, but it went away and now it's back. Social media sites parent company saying that it's bringing back job listings in Facebook Marketplace to help users find local jobs in their area. It was first introduced back in 2017 before being taken down about 5 years later. And Meta said it's going to include mostly entry-level jobs as well as service and trade work. And the feature is going to be available for users 18 and older. So look for that on Facebook coming soon. It is the fall. It is apple picking season. There's a big festival we want to tell you about. Meteorologist Alex Forbes is there live, and we're going to take you there. Really cool stuff as we continue here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour of Fox Local. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tom Haines, live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. It feels like fall out there, certainly. When we woke up this morning, there was definitely a chill in the air. There was a little debate happening, Alex Forbes, here in the newsroom about have you started the heat yet in the morning or not? It's about a 50-50 split. I raised my hand. I had it on today, this morning when we got up. I need it warm and cozy when I wake up in the morning.
I'm a fan of turning the heat on in the studio. If we can do that. Good day in Atlanta yesterday. That was a little cold.
Yeah, it is freezing in there.
Well. Yeah, so we got down in. It is. We got down into the 50s in Atlanta for several mornings, and up here in Gilmer County, we got down into the 40s. In Gilmer County, the place to be, not only last weekend, but this upcoming weekend with the Georgia Apple Festival. We're here at Hillcrest Orchards among the apples, all different types of varieties. The Red Delicious. You got the Brayburn back there, and even sweet potatoes in the mix as well. If you've got a fan of green apples, maybe Granny Smith is your choice. Those are an option as well. In fact, they grow a ton of different varieties here. I was looking up the sign that they have over there with the different months and whatnot and when those apples are available. They also do the you-pick apples, but we're towards the tail end of those seasons. So here's what we've got going on. Plenty to choose from here at Hillcrest Orchards, and I want to bring in Janice Hale here. And Janice, I tell you what, busy time up here in Gilmer County. How have things been over the past week or so?
Yes, it's very busy, very busy. We've had a lot of visitors here.
Tell me about the different types of apple varieties you guys have and what's available here in Gilmer County.
We grow about 22 different varieties. They come in at different times of the year. We start Labor Day weekend. We have about 6 varieties in the U-Pick orchard, but we're down to 1 now because we start early.
Right, so we're towards the tail end of the season here. Tell me a little bit about the Apple Festival. I know it was really busy last weekend. Somebody in LJ told me 22,000 people in the city here on Saturday. Right. Tell me about last weekend and what you're looking for this weekend.
Well, probably about the same. And a lot of the people who visit the Apple Festival come on out here to have fun on the farm.
Now, you mentioned the farm, right? So it's not just apples. You guys do a lot here. You were telling me earlier, kind of a kid's place. What other things can families do here at Hillcrest Orchards?
Well, we have lots of playgrounds, jumping pillows, a petting farm, wagon rides, mini golf, all kinds of things. I guess what we're most famous for is our swimming pig race. And we also race goats, chickens, and ducks. So that's a lot of fun. You can also milk a real cow here, Buttercup, and we have lots of kids here.
So it sounds like no matter the amount of apple cider that's drank, the kids are still going to be exhausted when they're on the way home, right?
Exactly. Our goal is to make them be asleep by the time they get back to LJ.
Okay. Sounds good. Janice, thank you very much. We want to get a check of that Georgia Apple Festival forecast for the weekend. I really do think Saturday is going to be your day, looking for highs in the 70s after a cool morning, right? So if you're down there at the Gilmer Fairgrounds, you are going to be looking at a cool start, maybe want a light jacket. By the time we get to Sunday, I still think the morning hours are going to be pretty good, but Sunday afternoon, we are going to have the chance of rain. And it's not all bad news because we need the rain, especially areas around the city and down to the south. And Tom, before we send it back to you, I want to show you outside real quick. Hillcrest Orchards, they've got their own way of monitoring the weather, all right? So we're going to go on a little trip here and go visit the Hillcrest Orchards weather guide. They have a donkey with a tail, and it says if the tail is wet, that means it rains. If the tail is white, it snows. If it's moving, it's windy, and if it's gone, there's a hurricane. And I am pleased to report that the tail is still here. It's not wet, it's not white, and it's not moving.
Let me get this straight. If I'm to come up to the Apple Orchard Festival and look at the, is that a cow or no? It's a donkey. It looks like. Donkey.
It's a donkey, yeah. Yeah, okay. You can get a check of the weather while you're at the orchard.
So who needs Alex Forbes when I can just go up and take a look at the donkey?
Well, you know what? If you want to come up here at 6 in the morning, and that's a way to get your weather forecast. Although, that's important to note that it's indicative for LJ, not so much where we are here in Atlanta.
And so, but Saturday is really our day because there's nothing wrong with going up there on a rainy day. It might be kind of a rainy day thing to do.
Right. No, and here's the thing. I think you're right, especially when it's cool and crisp outside. Yeah. The thing is the Arts and Crafts Fair. That's over at the Gilmer Fairgrounds. That's the bigger part of the Apple Festival. I think that could be on the wetter side. But again, that's more of an afternoon thing. The morning, 2 thumbs up. I'd say go for it.
And you say, just because I was listening a little bit when we were in the break, there's a ton of people been going up there.
Yeah, 22,000 came
Incredible.
to the Apple Festival on Saturday. And as Janice was saying, they're expecting about the same. And of course, so we're here on Highway 52 in Gilmer County, and the festival's up in downtown Ellijay. So not only can you swing by the festival, but you've got the slew of orchards here on Highway 52 that we are going to continue to visit here through the evening newscasts.
All right, meteorologist Alex Forbes, ton of fun up there in the Gilmer County area, surrounded by apples, and I would love one if you decide to bring one back to the studio, Alex.
Just one? Not more?
No. You can bring a bin of them back. I love apples, especially with peanut butter.
Okay.
Alex, thank you.
All right.
We are following a couple of breaking stories right now. One of them involving what we believe to be an officer-involved shooting. These are live pictures from Skyfox 5, which during Alex's live shot there up in Gilmer County just arrived over this scene. Police on the scene of, as I said, an officer-involved shooting. It's an apartment complex at the intersection of Tree Hills Parkway and South Harrison Road. The GBI just confirming to Fox 5 that they've been called out there to investigate. You can't see much going on right now out there because of the tree line, but there is police activity on the ground, and we know that police are there. The GBI is also involved in what's happening. The circumstances surrounding this apparent shooting, we just don't know who's involved or if anybody has been injured. But again, this is an apartment complex. This is the intersection of Tree Hills Parkway and South Harrison Road in DeKalb County, where police are on the scene of what we understand to be an officer-involved shooting. And anytime something like that happens, they involve the GBI. They bring them in to participate in the investigation. The extent of any injuries, if there are any, well, we just don't know. But here is a better look at what's going on through the tree line at this apartment complex. You can see the police cruisers there on the scene, lights on. Skyfox 5 providing these live pictures of something that literally just happened within the past 5 or so minutes as they tape it off and get to the bottom of what happened after DeKalb County police apparently were forced to fire there. There's a white van there on the scene, door open. Don't know if that's involved or not, but we'll continue to get more information as the situation warrants out there and bring it to you as we get it. We're going to continue here on Fox Local with more news coming up in the 4 p.m. hour. I'm Tom Haynes, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom on what was yet another busy Tuesday afternoon of news. We'll see you right back here tomorrow, right at this time. Meantime, the news continues right here, right now.
Fox 5 News at 4 starts right now. The frantic search for a missing 6-month-old baby boy continues as his father remains behind bars. And new information in a deadly crash on I-85 Monday evening. The tragic news announced by authorities in the past hour. We begin first with breaking news out of DeKalb County. That's where police are on the scene of an officer-involved shooting. These are live pictures from Sky Fox 5 over